In the dim glow of firelight, a figure steps into the shadows, whispering words that stir the air. The world is old, and magic is older still. It breathes in the wind and stirs beneath the earth. It lives in the hearts of those who know its secrets, the witches, who walk the lands of ancient civilizations, weaving spells and bending the unseen forces of the universe. In the beginning, before fear and persecution turned their names to curses, witches were keepers of knowledge and power. In Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, magic was as real as the rivers that gave life to the land. The Sumerians believed that the world was filled with spirits, both benevolent and malevolent, lurking in the shadows of every corner. These spirits could be called upon, bargained with, or banished, depending on the needs of those who understood the ancient rites. The witch was the intermediary, the one who could see beyond the veil. She was a healer, a protector, a wise woman who knew the secrets of herbs and the hidden language of the stars. She could bring rain to a dry season or curse a cruel tyrant with a single glance. Her magic was feared and revered, a force that could not be tamed or fully understood. In the temples of Babylon, priests and priestesses performed rituals that called upon the gods, but there were others who worked outside the temples, in secret, away from the prying eyes of the pious. These were the witches who spoke with the spirits directly. They cast spells under the cover of night, whispering incantations over bowls of sacred water, burning herbs to send their prayers up in smoke. They wore amulets inscribed with the names of gods and demons alike, for they knew that power came from both light and dark. To wield such power was to walk a fine line, to tread carefully between the worlds of the living and the dead. In the sands of Egypt, where the sun beat down with an unforgiving heat, magic took on another form. The ancient Egyptians believed in a world teeming with gods and spirits, where every shadow hid a secret. Magic was not just a part of their religion, it was woven into the fabric of everyday life. They called it Heka, a force that existed before the gods themselves, a power that could heal the sick, protect the dead, and even bring the dead back to life. The witches of Egypt were called Heka priests, those who knew how to harness this sacred force. They were guardians of the sacred texts, keepers of ancient spells written on papyrus scrolls, hidden in tombs to protect the deceased on their journey through the afterlife. But there were others, those who practiced magic in secret, away from the watchful eyes of the pharaoh and his priests. These witches worked their spells in hidden places, drawing symbols in the sand, speaking words of power that could bend reality to their will. They crafted potions from desert herbs, used charms to ward off evil spirits, and could place curses on their enemies that would last for generations. To some, they were feared, to others, they were the only hope against the unseen forces that haunted the land. In the dark of night, when the world was quiet and the stars shone bright, the witches of Egypt worked their magic, knowing that every spell cast was a brush against the divine. In the ancient lands of Greece, where gods walked among men, and heroes battled monsters, witchcraft was seen through the lens of myth and legend. Witches were both feared and sought after, their power acknowledged and respected. There was Circe, the sorceress who could turn men into beasts with a wave of her hand, her magic as intoxicating as it was terrifying. And Medea, who could summon dragons and call down the wrath of the gods, a witch whose love and fury were equally deadly. These witches were not bound by the laws of men or gods, they moved through the world like shadows, bending fate and fortune to their will. The Greeks believed in a world filled with magic, where the line between reality and myth was thin. They feared the witches who lived on the edges of their cities, in dark forests or atop misty mountains, women who could speak to the dead and foretell the future. But they also respected them, sought their counsel when the path was unclear, or when the favor of the gods seemed distant. To the ancient Greeks, witches were both a necessary evil and a powerful ally, beings who could manipulate the very fabric of the cosmos. In the dark corners of history, witches walked among kings and commoners alike, their magic a thread woven through the tapestry of time. They spoke to the spirits of the earth, called upon the powers of the night, and shaped the destinies of those who sought their aid. Their hands mixed potions, their words carried spells, and their eyes saw beyond the veil of the ordinary world. To look into the face of a witch was to gaze into the abyss of the unknown, to confront the mysteries that lay hidden in the shadowed corners of existence. Their power was a thing of wonder and terror, a force that could heal or harm with equal ease. And so, they lived on the fringes, walking between worlds, keepers of secrets that few dared to seek. For in their hearts burned a flame that could never be extinguished, a light that shone in the darkness, guiding the lost, cursing the wicked, and forever changing the course of history. In the flickering light of a fire under a moonlit sky, a group of figures gathers, cloaked in mystery, their shadows stretching long across the earth. They are the witches of the ancient pagan cultures, their knowledge of the natural world unmatched, their power feared and revered in equal measure. In lands where gods and spirits walked the earth, witches were the bridge between the living and the supernatural. They whispered to the wind, listened to the trees, and held secrets in their hearts that only the bravest dared to seek. In the misty hills and dark forests of the Celtic lands, witches moved quietly, their presence woven into the very fabric of life. The Celts believed in a world alive with spirits and forces beyond human understanding. Here, witches were seen as healers, wise women who understood the secrets of the earth. They knew which herbs could heal a wound or calm a fever and which could bring a quick death to an enemy. Their hands were gentle when healing, yet their words could summon storms or lay a curse upon those who wronged them. They walked the thin line between light and darkness, balancing the power to cure and to curse. They performed rituals under the ancient oaks, calling upon the spirits of nature, singing songs in a language as old as the land itself. To the Celts, the witch was both a blessing and a curse, a being who could protect the village from the wrath of unseen forces, but who could also summon those same forces in a fit of rage or vengeance. In the far north, where the harsh winds swept across icy fjords and the nights could last forever, the Norse witches wielded their magic with a fierce intensity. Known as the Volva, these witches were seeresses and prophets, wandering women who carried the knowledge of fate and the gods. They wore cloaks of blue or black, adorned with charms and bones, and carried staffs carved with runes, symbols of their power. They could call upon the spirits of the dead, speak with the gods, and see into the threads of fate that bound all things together. When they spoke, even the mightiest of warriors would listen, for the Volva could see what lay beyond the horizon, in both this world and the next. The Norse witches understood the power of nature, and they drew strength from the earth and the sky. They used herbs to heal the sick, but they also knew the darker uses of these plants. A single touch of their potions could grant visions or cause madness, heal a broken body or break a strong mind. They could call upon the ancient spirits of the land, waking giants from their slumber, or summon the spirits of the dead to seek vengeance on their enemies. The witches of the Norse lands were not to be crossed, for their wrath was swift and terrible, and their knowledge of the dark arts was as deep as the fjords that cradled their homeland. In the deep forests of Eastern Europe, where the Slavic people lived in fear and awe of the spirits that haunted their world, witches were seen as both protectors and dangers. The Slavs believed that every tree, river, and stone held a spirit, a force that could be both kind and cruel. The witches, known as Vedma or Folkva, were those who could speak to these spirits, who knew their moods and desires. They were the keepers of ancient rites, performing rituals at the crossroads and in sacred groves, places where the veil between the worlds was thin. The Vedma could call upon the spirits to bless a harvest or curse a thief. They knew the songs that could bring rain or call forth fire, and they could read the omens in the flight of birds or the patterns of the stars. The Slavic witches used herbs not only to heal but to ward off evil spirits. They would gather in the deep woods, far from prying eyes, crafting potions and charms to protect their people from the dark forces that prowled the night. But there was another side to them, a darker side. They were feared for their ability to curse with just a whisper, to summon storms or sickness with a flick of their wrist. Some spoke of witches who could change their shape, turning into animals to roam the night, or who could enter dreams, planting nightmares that could drive a person mad. In these lands, the line between the healer and the wielder of dark magic was blurred, for the same power that could heal could also destroy. In all these ancient pagan cultures, witches were a force to be reckoned with. They were respected for their knowledge of the natural world and their ability to heal. They were feared for their power to curse and control the forces of darkness. They knew the secrets of the earth and the sky, the hidden paths that lay beyond the edge of the known world. They could call upon the spirits of the land, the dead, and the divine. They were the keepers of the ancient rites, the ones who stood at the crossroads between light and shadow, between the living and the dead. To be a witch in these ancient cultures was to walk a path that was both feared and revered. It was to hold the power of life and death in your hands, to be both a healer and a harbinger of doom. The witches of the Celts, Norse, and Slavs were not just figures of fear. They were the ones who understood the mysteries of the universe, who could see beyond the veil of the ordinary into the depths of the unknown. They were the ones who held the ancient wisdom, the knowledge that was passed down through generations, whispered in the dark and hidden in the shadows. The witch, in her many forms, was a guardian of knowledge and power. She stood at the edge of the firelight, her eyes reflecting the flames, her voice a soft whisper on the wind. She was a healer and a curse-bearer, a protector and a destroyer. She was the keeper of the old ways, the ancient magic that flowed through the veins of the earth, the one who knew that all power comes at a price. And in the stillness of the night, when the world was quiet and the shadows grew long, she was the one who walked between worlds, a bridge between the living and the dead, between the known and the unknown. In the ancient world, where gods and mortals often walked side by side, the figure of the witch stirred fear and fascination alike. In the whispered stories that passed from lips to ears in the shadows of temples and under the cover of night, witches like Circe and Medea emerged from the darkness, seductive and dangerous, alluring and deadly. These women were woven into the fabric of Greek and Roman mythology, their powers feared, their beauty desired, and their wrath dreaded. They were both admired for their skills and reviled for their cunning, their names spoken with a mixture of awe and terror. Circe, the enchantress of Aeaea, was one such figure who captured the imagination of all who heard her story. She was a goddess in her own right, a daughter of the sun god Helios, but it was her mastery of potions and spells that set her apart. Sailors spoke in hushed tones of the island she ruled, where she lured unsuspecting men with her beauty and transformed them into beasts with a flick of her hand. To encounter Circe was to be drawn into a world where desire could quickly turn to horror. When Odysseus and his men landed on her island, she welcomed them with a feast, her golden hair flowing like a river of light, her eyes glinting with mystery. But as they ate and drank, her true power was revealed. With a whispered incantation, she turned them into swine, their cries of terror echoing through the dark woods. Only Odysseus, armed with a magical herb and a will of iron, was able to resist her enchantments and demand the return of his men. Circe was not merely a seductress, but a wielder of dark and unpredictable power, a being who could love and destroy with equal ease. Then there was Medea, the sorceress princess of Colchis, whose very name became synonymous with vengeance and betrayal. Medea's story is one of love turned to fury, a heart betrayed that brought forth a storm of blood and fire. She helped Jason, the hero of the Argonauts, to steal the Golden Fleece, using her dark arts to bind the dragon that guarded it. For her love, she betrayed her father and forsook her homeland. But when Jason abandoned her for another, the gentle, loving Medea vanished, replaced by a figure of dark vengeance. She used her magic not to heal or help, but to wreak a terrible revenge, sending a poisoned gown to the new bride and slaughtering her own children to hurt Jason as deeply as he had wounded her. The image of Medea, standing amidst the corpses of her children, blood on her hands, her eyes alight with a madness born of pain and betrayal, haunts the pages of ancient texts. She is a warning of the terrible power of a woman wronged, a witch who chose destruction over forgiveness. The Greeks and Romans did not merely tell tales of these witches, they shaped them into something that both reflected and challenged their worldviews. Witches were often portrayed as beings who straddled the line between the divine and the human, their powers a gift that could easily become a curse. They were both revered for their knowledge and feared for their potential to disrupt the natural order. In their hands, beauty became a trap, love became a weapon, and magic was a force that could upend the very laws of the gods. They were the ultimate outsiders, beings who did not fit neatly into any category, whose very existence challenged the order of things. But there was more to these stories than just cautionary tales of desire and danger. Circe and Medea, with their dual nature, also served to highlight the ambiguity and complexity of power itself. They could heal and they could harm, they could seduce and they could terrify. This dual nature, seductive and dangerous, reflected the world's ambivalence toward women who possessed knowledge and power. In an era dominated by male gods and heroes, the witch was both a threat and a fascination. Her powers were undeniable, her presence both magnetic and terrifying. The stories of Circe and Medea also left an indelible mark on the early Christian views of witchcraft. The new religion, spreading across a landscape still haunted by the old gods and old ways, found in these tales a cautionary note about the dangers of women who wielded power outside the sanctioned bounds. In the Christian retelling, witches became symbols of sin and rebellion, their magic a dark art that could only lead to damnation. They were not merely threats to individual men, as in the tales of Odysseus or Jason, but to the very soul of society itself. The seductive power of the witch became equated with the temptations of the flesh, the dangers of falling away from the path of righteousness. The myths of Circe and Medea, already filled with themes of seduction, betrayal, and vengeance, provided a perfect canvas on which to paint these new fears. The ancient stories had laid the foundation, and now, with the rise of Christianity, these images took on an even darker hue. The witch became not just a woman who could wield magic, but a servant of the devil, a figure whose very existence was a challenge to the divine order. And so, the seductive danger of Circe and the vengeful fury of Medea were transformed, their tales woven into a new narrative that would echo through the centuries. In the shadowy corners of the ancient world, where belief in the supernatural was as real as the air they breathed, the stories of these witches were more than just tales, they were a warning, a thrill, a reminder of the thin line between desire and destruction. To speak of Circe or Medea was to speak of the unknown, of the fear and fascination that lies in the hearts of all who walk in the light, yet cannot help but glance into the darkness. These stories, filled with magic and mystery, fear and fascination, have endured through time, reminding us all of the power that lies in the shadows, just beyond our understanding. The flickering flames cast eerie shadows on the stone walls as cries of pain echoed through the cold night air. In the dimly lit chambers of medieval Europe, terror was given a name, witch. Across Germany, France, England, and beyond, a dark wave of fear swept through the land, igniting a series of witch trials that would leave thousands dead and countless more living in fear. These were times when the mere accusation of witchcraft could spell death. It wasn't just about magic, it was about control, power, and the fear of the unknown that haunted society's very soul. The witch hunts did not begin with a single event, but grew out of a storm of social, political, and religious upheaval. Wars raged, crops failed, and plagues swept through villages like shadows in the night. Amidst such chaos, people searched for answers, for something or someone to blame. Fingers began to point at those who lived on the fringes of society, at the old woman who knew the secrets of herbs, at the midwife who whispered over a newborn's cradle, at the strange, solitary figure who lived alone at the edge of the forest. The church, striving to maintain its power and influence over a fearful population, found a perfect target in these so-called witches. The devil, they preached, walked among them, and those who practiced witchcraft were his loyal servants. In towns and villages, hysteria spread like wildfire. In Germany, the dark heart of the witch craze, it wasn't long before the trials began. The infamous Würzburg and Bamberg trials claimed the lives of hundreds, sometimes entire families were wiped out in a single sweep of accusations. Neighbors turned on neighbors, mothers turned on daughters, husbands turned on wives. Even children were not spared. The trials were brutal. The accused were dragged from their homes, chained and shackled, thrown into cold, dark cells to await their fate. They were subjected to horrific torture, thumbscrews, the rack, and the dreaded strappado, where victims were hung by their wrists, their arms tied behind their backs, shoulders slowly pulled from their sockets. Under such agony, people confessed to anything their torturers wanted to hear. Yes, I consorted with the devil. Yes, I flew on a broomstick. Yes, I cursed my neighbor's crops. In France, the hysteria was no less vicious. The infamous trial of the witches of Loudun saw priests, nuns, and citizens all swept up in a frenzy of accusations and executions. The town became a spectacle of fear. Those accused were often paraded through the streets, jeered at, spat upon, before being burned alive in the town square. The fire consumed them, a horrifying spectacle that drew crowds like a macabre carnival, reinforcing the message that no one was safe, that the devil's hand could reach anyone, anywhere. In England, the witch hunts took on a legalistic fervor. The infamous witchfinder general, Matthew Hopkins, cut a path of terror across East Anglia, his zeal unmatched, his methods unyielding. He devised brutal methods to extract confessions. The swimming test, where the accused were bound and thrown into water. If they floated, they were guilty, and if they sank, they were innocent but often drowned. It was a cruel irony that haunted those who were subjected to it. The trials were marked by hysteria, false accusations, and a chilling disregard for justice. Hopkins' reign of terror resulted in the deaths of dozens, his victims mostly women, though men were not spared. The church played a central role in these dark times, its doctrine driving the persecution. In 1486, the publication of the Malleus Maleficarum, the Hammer of Witches, fueled the fire. This vile text, written by Heinrich Kramer and James Springer, became the handbook for witch hunters across Europe. It painted witches as the ultimate evil, capable of any atrocity, and laid out in excruciating detail the methods for identifying, interrogating, and executing them. The church's involvement was driven by both fear and the desire to control the narrative. They needed a scapegoat for the chaos of the times, and the witch was the perfect target, a faceless enemy upon whom they could project society's darkest fears and insecurities. The legal processes during these trials were a mockery of justice. Accusations were often based on flimsy evidence, a black cat spotted in the wrong place, a wart or a birthmark taken as the devil's mark, a muttered curse when angered. Witnesses were often unreliable, driven by personal vendettas or fear of becoming the next target. The accused rarely had a chance to defend themselves, their guilt was often assumed from the start. Torture was the method of choice to extract confessions, and those who survived it often faced execution anyway. The church sanctioned these methods, believing that no price was too high to rid the world of the devil's servants. The witch trials of this dark era were not just about punishing those who were different or feared, they were about control, about silencing those who dared to step outside the rigid confines of what society deemed acceptable. Women, in particular, bore the brunt of this terror, their knowledge and independence often seen as a threat to the patriarchal order. The trials were a stark reminder of how fear can be weaponized, how societies can turn on themselves, tearing apart the very fabric that binds them together. And so, the flames continued to burn, and the cries continued to echo across the dark nights of Europe. The fear of witches became a fear of one's neighbor, a fear of the unknown, a fear of oneself. The witch hunts were not just about persecuting those who practiced magic, they were about persecuting those who were different, those who dared to stand apart. In the flickering light of those fires, humanity's darkest fears were laid bare, a reflection of the shadows that dwell in every heart. A shadow of fear crept over Salem, a small, isolated Puritan village in the heart of colonial America. It began with a whisper, a suspicion that grew like a dark stain across the town. Eyes darted nervously, and neighbors no longer trusted one another. The year was 1692, and what started as strange behavior by a few young girls would soon ignite a frenzy that left 20 innocent people dead and a community forever scarred. It began with a group of young girls, Betty Paris, Abigail Williams, and others, whose strange fits and convulsions struck fear into the hearts of those who watched. Their bodies twisted and turned as if seized by some unseen force, mouths foaming, voices screaming out words that seemed to come from another world. The village doctor, baffled by their symptoms, found no natural cause and concluded that something dark and sinister was at work. "Bewitched," he said. The very word sent a chill through the community, for to be bewitched was to be touched by the devil himself. The accusations came swiftly after that. The girls, under pressure, began to point fingers at the most vulnerable members of the community, Tituba, the Paris family's Caribbean slave, Sarah Good, a destitute woman who begged for food, and Sarah Osborne, who rarely attended church. These women were different, easy targets in a society that prized conformity and feared the unknown. Their arrests were the spark that ignited the blaze of hysteria that would soon engulf Salem. The trials began with a rush, the accused dragged from their homes in the dead of night, shackled in heavy chains, their faces a mix of fear and defiance. The courtroom, filled with a throng of terrified villagers, buzzed with anticipation. As the accused were brought before the magistrates, the girls began to convulse and cry out, claiming invisible hands were pinching and tormenting them. These dramatic displays fed the flames of panic. Spectral evidence, as it was called, became the twisted cornerstone of the trials. If someone claimed they saw your spirit flying about, tormenting others, that was enough to condemn you. One by one, the accused were pressed to confess. Under the weight of fear and the threat of death, some confessed to crimes they hadn't committed, desperate for mercy that would never come. Others, like Rebecca Nurse and Giles Corey, stood firm in their innocence. Rebecca, a respected elderly woman, spoke with a calm dignity that did little to sway the judges. In the eyes of the court, her refusal to admit guilt was seen as defiance, proof that the devil's grip on her was strong. She was hanged alongside others, her final prayers drowned out by the cheering crowd. Giles Corey, in his refusal to stand trial, faced a different horror. He was pressed to death, heavy stones piled upon his chest until he could no longer breathe. "More weight," he gasped, his final words a testament to his unyielding spirit. His death, slow and torturous, was meant to break his will, to force him to admit to a crime he never committed. But even as the life ebbed from his body, he held firm, a silent rebuke to the madness that had taken hold of his town. The Puritan beliefs that saturated Salem's soil played a crucial role in the unfolding of these events. In a world where the devil was believed to walk among them, whispering into the ears of the weak and the wicked, fear was a constant companion. The Puritans saw the world as a battlefield between the forces of good and evil, and witchcraft was the ultimate betrayal, a pact with darkness that threatened the very soul of the community. The sermons from the pulpit fed this fear, painting vivid images of hell and its torments, of the eternal fires that awaited sinners and the devil's agents. Every misfortune, failed crops, sudden illness, a cow that would not give milk, became a sign, a warning that evil was near. But it wasn't just the fear of the supernatural that fueled the flames in Salem. Societal fears, too, played their part. In a town still recovering from a brutal war with Native Americans, where disease and famine were constant threats, the need to find a scapegoat was overwhelming. Those who were different, those who spoke out, those who did not fit neatly into the tightly woven fabric of Puritan society, were the first to be accused. Women, particularly those who were independent or outspoken, were especially vulnerable. The idea of a woman wielding power outside the bounds of male authority was terrifying to a society built on strict, patriarchal control. As the hysteria spread, the accusations grew more bizarre and wide-reaching. The fear became a living thing, feeding off the very people it consumed. People began to accuse their own family members, friends turned against friends. No one was safe. The once tight-knit community of Salem was now splintered, trust replaced by suspicion, love turned to hate. The devil, it seemed, was not just in the shadows but in the hearts of the people themselves. In just a few short months, the trials would claim the lives of 19 innocent people, with more than 200 others accused of witchcraft. The frenzy only began to subside when the governor's own wife was accused, a stark reminder that no one was beyond the reach of this madness. As reason slowly crept back into the shattered community, the trials were brought to an end, but the scars would remain. Those who had been accused and their families were left to rebuild their lives, forever haunted by the events of those dark days. The Salem witch trials were a tragedy born of fear and fanaticism, a stark reminder of how quickly society can turn on itself when the darkness of superstition and paranoia is allowed to take hold. They left an indelible mark on the history of America, a cautionary tale of what happens when fear overrides reason, when justice is sacrificed at the altar of hysteria. The echo of those cries still lingers, a ghost in the history of a nation that vowed never to forget the lessons learned in the fires of Salem. The dim candlelight flickered across the stone walls of a small chamber, where a terrified woman stood, her hands trembling, eyes wide with fear. Outside, the sound of a crowd gathering grew louder, whispers turning to shouts. Her name was whispered among them, marked with an accusation she could not fight. Witch. In the shadows of medieval and Renaissance Europe, such words carried the weight of death. The Middle Ages and the Renaissance were times when the unseen was feared and the unknown was shunned. Witchcraft, they believed, was a dark art, a pact made with the devil, and those accused were cast into a world of terror and brutality. Witches were believed to wield powers beyond human understanding, transforming into beasts, summoning storms, casting spells of death and disease. This fear, born from ignorance and nurtured by religious fervor, would soon grow into an unstoppable force that swept across Europe, leaving devastation in its wake. The madness truly began with a book. The Malleus Maleficarum, or Hammer of Witches, was written in 1487 by two Dominican inquisitors, Heinrich Kramer and Jacob Sprenger. It was more than just a book, it was a weapon. It laid out in cold, merciless detail the ways to identify, hunt, and punish witches. With every page, it fueled the flames of fear, turning neighbor against neighbor, brother against sister. The Malleus Maleficarum became the Bible of witch hunters, a guide to persecution and pain, with its words echoing in the cries of those it condemned. The book taught that witches were not just individuals with evil intentions, but a part of a vast, shadowy conspiracy against God himself. It described them gathering at night, worshiping Satan in dark rituals, flying through the skies to secret meetings. And it claimed, with a chilling certainty, that these witches were everywhere. No one was safe from their touch, not the old or the young, the rich or the poor. Women, particularly, were singled out, thought to be more susceptible to the devil's seduction due to their perceived weakness and sinfulness. Under the influence of such beliefs, Europe became a land of paranoia and persecution. In towns and villages across the continent, the witch hunts began. The accused were often women, healers, midwives, those who lived alone or spoke out of turn. Those who had knowledge of herbs or dared to defy societal norms were branded as witches. But men were not immune, especially those who questioned the church or the state. The accusations spread like wildfire, and soon, anyone could be a suspect. All it took was a look, a word, a grudge. The witch hunts were not simply acts of spontaneous violence, they were organized, systematic, and terrifying. Witch hunting manuals, inspired by the Malleus Maleficarum, spread across the continent, teaching inquisitors and judges the science of identifying witches. These books described how to extract confessions, often through methods that could only be described as torture. Iron boots, thumbscrews, the rack, these were the tools of the trade. The accused, stripped of dignity and humanity, were tortured until their bodies were broken and their minds shattered. And when they could bear no more, when the pain was too great, they confessed to anything just to make it stop. Notable cases stand as dark reminders of this tragic time. In Germany, the epicenter of the witch hunts, the case of Katharina Hennet in 1627 still echoes through history. Katharina, a well-respected postmaster in Cologne, was accused of witchcraft. Her crime? It was never clearly stated. But rumors spread, whispers that she had caused a plague, that she could transform herself into a cat. Her trial was a farce, a parade of lies and coerced testimonies. She was tortured until she confessed, her body subjected to horrors unimaginable. And then, she was burned alive, her screams mingling with the cheers of the crowd. Her death was not just a punishment, it was a spectacle, a warning to others. In England, the witch trials took a different turn, often under the grim guidance of men like Matthew Hopkins, the self-proclaimed witchfinder general. Hopkins made a career out of persecution, traveling from town to town, rooting out witches wherever he went. His methods were brutal and absurd, stripping the accused naked and searching for the devil's mark, a blemish or mole believed to be a sign of a pact with Satan. He devised a swimming test, where the accused were thrown into water. If they floated, they were guilty, for water, the pure element, would reject the evil. If they sank, they were innocent, but many drowned before they could be pulled out. Hopkins' witch hunts led to the deaths of hundreds, and his name became synonymous with fear. In France, the case of the Loudun possessions in 1634 remains one of the most bizarre and infamous witch trials in history. A group of nuns in a convent began exhibiting strange behaviors, contorting, speaking in tongues, claiming to be possessed by demons. Father Urbain Grandier, a local priest with a reputation for arrogance, was accused of summoning the demons. Despite his vehement denials, he was tortured and eventually burned at the stake. His screams, as the flames consumed him, were said to have echoed across the town for days. His death did not end the hysteria, it only fueled it further, as more and more were accused and burned. These stories, tragic and chilling, are but a few of the thousands that mark this dark chapter in history. The witch hunts were not acts of justice but acts of terror, fueled by fear and superstition, manipulated by those in power to control and intimidate. The church played a significant role, often sanctioning the hunts, seeing witches as a threat to its authority. In the name of God, countless innocent lives were taken, their only crime being different, misunderstood, or simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. The medieval and Renaissance periods, marked by both progress and cruelty, saw the height of these witch hunts. As the fear of witches grew, so did the brutality of the hunts. The screams of the accused, the smell of burning flesh, the sight of broken bodies, it was a time when fear ruled over reason, and darkness, real or imagined, seemed to consume the light. Beneath the cover of night, shadows danced around a flickering fire deep within the forest. Figures cloaked in darkness gathered, their whispered voices mingling with the rustling leaves. In the eyes of the powerful, these were not mere women, they were witches, rebels defying the order of society, the rules of men, and the laws of God. They were seen as a symbol of rebellion, a force that threatened to upend the world as it was known. Witches, throughout history, were more than just figures of fear, they were a powerful symbol of resistance. In a world dominated by patriarchal and religious authorities, they stood as a defiance, an embodiment of everything that was feared and misunderstood. To some, they were evil, dark creatures plotting against the fabric of society. To others, they were figures of freedom, challenging the chains that bound women and the oppressed to a life of submission and silence. The secret gatherings, whispered about in taverns and churches alike, added to this mystique. In these stories, covens met under the full moon, hidden away from prying eyes. There, they would perform rituals that went against everything the church preached. There were tales of women dancing naked in the moonlight, calling upon forces of nature and power far beyond what any man could understand. To those in power, these gatherings were more than just a meeting, they were a direct challenge to their authority, a spark that could ignite the flames of rebellion. To the ruling men, these witches were dangerous because they could not be controlled. They did not adhere to the roles society dictated for them. They spoke their minds, practiced their arts, and lived outside the confines of what was deemed acceptable. They were midwives and healers, wise women who knew the secrets of herbs and potions. Their knowledge made them powerful, and that power made them a threat. The witch was a figure who refused to bow, who would not be silenced, and who dared to live her life by her own rules. And that terrified those who held the reins of power. These witches became symbols not just of rebellion, but also of the mysterious allure of forbidden power. They stood at the edge of society, on the borders of what was known and understood. This dual nature, of being feared and yet strangely fascinating, made them even more potent. Tales of witchcraft became tales of forbidden desires, of secrets whispered in the dark, of powers that lay just beyond the grasp of ordinary people. Witches represented the fear of what could not be controlled, but also the tantalizing possibility of freedom from the chains of society. The stories of these witches spread like wildfire. Some were said to have sold their souls to the devil, gaining dark powers in return. Others were said to have found power in the earth itself, calling upon the spirits of nature to aid them. These tales fed the fear and fascination, growing ever more wild with each retelling. There was the story of Mother Shipton, a seer and prophetess in England, whose predictions of doom were both feared and eagerly awaited. There were tales of Agnes Sampson of Scotland, who was accused of using her powers to raise storms and blight crops. To the common folk, these witches were both curse and cure, revered and reviled in equal measure. In the eyes of the church and state, the fear of witches was more than just fear of the supernatural, it was fear of the unknown, fear of losing control. The witch was a symbol of a world where the rules did not apply, where the boundaries set by society were broken. The church, with its strict doctrines and teachings, saw the witches as a direct threat to their authority. If a woman could wield such power, if she could defy the laws of nature and God, then what did that mean for the men who claimed to speak for God on earth? And so, the witch hunts were not just hunts for those who practiced magic. They were hunts for those who dared to defy the natural order. They were a way to reinforce control, to crush any whispers of rebellion before they could grow. Those accused were often the ones who did not fit in, who stood out, who dared to speak up. The hunts were a brutal way to silence those voices, to reaffirm the rules of a world built on the power of men. But for all the fear and hatred, there was also a strange kind of admiration. Even as they were hunted and burned, witches fascinated those who persecuted them. The stories of their powers, of their defiance, captivated the imagination. They were seen as creatures who had tapped into something primal and powerful, something that lay beyond the reach of ordinary men. In a way, the very act of trying to destroy them only made them more powerful, turning them into martyrs for a cause that was never truly understood. Witches became more than just women accused of dark deeds. They became symbols of a deeper struggle, a battle between the old ways and the new, between freedom and control, between fear and fascination. They stood as a reminder of what lay beneath the surface of society, a desire for something more, something beyond the rules that bound everyone. They were rebels in a world that demanded submission, voices of defiance in a world that demanded silence. And so, in the flickering shadows of history, the witch remains a powerful figure. She is a reminder of the fear that drives men to cruelty, but also of the power that lies in rebellion. She is the darkness that men fear, but also the light that they cannot help but be drawn to. She is the question that remains unanswered, the mystery that refuses to be solved. A symbol of both fear and fascination, she stands on the edge of history, daring anyone to cross the line, to step into the darkness and see what lies beyond. In the heart of the African night, where the stars burn bright and the drums echo through the silence, whispers of magic fill the air. Here, in the vast lands where ancient rivers flow and the winds carry stories from generation to generation, witchcraft is more than a mere tale of fear and power. It is woven into the very fabric of life, a force that lives in the shadows and in the light, in the everyday and the extraordinary. In many African cultures, witchcraft holds a complex place, straddling the line between healer and harmer, protector and predator. A witch could be a feared outcast, blamed for misfortunes and sicknesses, or a revered healer, sought after for their wisdom and power. The line between these roles often blurred, depending on who told the story and why. It is said that some could cast curses that would bring down even the mightiest warriors, while others could heal the sick and communicate with the spirits of the dead. The witch, in these tales, is a master of both realms, capable of bridging the world of the living with the mysterious world beyond. In the quiet corners of villages, stories of witches and shamans swirl like smoke. Shamans, those who walk between the worlds, are often seen as guides and guardians. They possess knowledge of herbs and rituals that can heal wounds and calm troubled minds. In some tribes, they are the ones who speak with the ancestors, seeking their guidance and protection. They can call upon the spirits, asking for rain in times of drought or protection in times of war. Their power comes not from malevolence, but from a deep connection to the earth, the spirits, and the unseen forces that shape the world. Yet, the same power that can heal can also harm. And here lies the fear of what cannot be seen, of the invisible forces that can strike without warning. In some regions, witches are believed to have the power to transform into animals, taking the form of owls, hyenas, or snakes. It is said that in the dead of night, a witch might roam the countryside in the guise of a black dog or a sly fox, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. This shape-shifting ability adds to their mystique and terror. One can never be sure if the creature lurking in the shadows is just a mere animal or something far more sinister. A story from the Ashanti people tells of a witch who turned into a leopard to hunt down her enemies, prowling silently through the jungle, her eyes glowing in the darkness. Legends speak of the secret gatherings of witches, held under the cover of darkness in the deep forests or on the lonely hillsides. Here, they would dance and sing, calling upon their powers, invoking spirits both good and evil. The air would hum with energy, the very earth beneath their feet trembling with the weight of their incantations. To stumble upon such a gathering was said to bring madness or death, for the witches guarded their secrets fiercely, and none who saw them at their work would live to tell the tale. One of the most chilling stories comes from the Zulu people, where it is told that witches have the power to fly, to leave their bodies at night and travel across the skies. They would smear themselves with magical ointments, whisper incantations, and then, like a mist, rise into the air, soaring over the treetops and mountains. Such witches were believed to be able to slip into homes unnoticed, stealing the breath from sleeping children, or whispering curses into the ears of their enemies. The fear of the night-flying witch was so real that families would hang protective charms above their doorways, hoping to keep the dark magic at bay. Yet, witchcraft in Africa is not always about fear. There are stories of witches who used their powers for good, who healed the sick and protected their communities from harm. In some cultures, a witch was seen as a wise woman or man, someone who could see beyond the ordinary, who understood the balance of life and death, light and dark. These witches were respected and even loved, for their powers brought not just fear but hope and healing. They could cure illnesses that baffled even the most learned healers, predict the future, and speak with the spirits. Their knowledge was passed down through generations, a legacy of power that shaped the community's beliefs and practices. In the dense forests of the Congo, stories are told of a powerful shaman who could summon rain to fall in the dry season or call forth the spirits of the ancestors to protect his people. This shaman was said to have a third eye, a gift that allowed him to see the unseen and know the unknowable. He was both feared and revered, his name spoken in hushed tones, a reminder of the power that lay just beyond the reach of ordinary men and women. In the plains of Kenya, the Kikuyu speak of witches who could command the wind and rain, who could make the crops grow or wither at their will. These witches were often blamed for any misfortune, if the rains did not come, if a child fell ill, if a cow stopped giving milk. It was said that these witches could call upon the spirits to do their bidding, that they could twist the very fabric of reality with a single word. And yet, these same witches were also called upon to heal, to cure illnesses that no one else could. The duality of their power, to harm and to heal, made them both feared and necessary, a reminder of the thin line between life and death, order and chaos. In the stories of the Yoruba, witches were believed to hold secret knowledge that could grant them power over life and death. They were said to possess charms and amulets that could protect against evil or bring it down upon their enemies. These witches were feared, but they were also consulted in times of need, for their knowledge of the mystical and the magical was unparalleled. The Yoruba believed that witches could see the future, that they could shape events to come, and that their power was a force to be reckoned with. The tales of African witchcraft are many and varied, filled with wonder and fear, with light and dark. In these stories, witches are not merely evil beings to be hunted and feared, they are complex figures, as capable of great good as they are of great evil. They are a part of the natural world, connected to the earth, the sky, and the spirits that dwell in between. Their power comes from this connection, a power that is both feared and revered, a reminder of the mysteries that lie just beyond the edge of the known world. Under the moonlit skies of Asia, where shadows dance and the night air is thick with the unknown, the tales of witches are as old as time itself. In the lands where dragons once roamed and the spirits of ancestors watch over the living, witches are woven into the very fabric of folklore. Here, they are not merely figures of fear, but powerful beings who walk the line between the natural and the supernatural, the seen and the unseen. In China, stories of witches and sorceresses are filled with both wonder and dread. The witch, or wu, is a figure of immense power, capable of summoning spirits, casting curses, and bending the forces of nature to their will. In ancient texts, they were believed to possess a mysterious knowledge that allowed them to communicate with the spirit world, a talent that made them both revered and feared. Legends speak of the Wu who could call forth rain in times of drought or summon the wind to sweep away invading armies. Yet, with such power came great suspicion. In the dark alleys of old Beijing, mothers would warn their children to beware of strange women who could speak to the wind or dance with the shadows, for they might be witches in disguise. In one chilling tale from Chinese folklore, a beautiful sorceress named Bai Suzhen fell in love with a mortal man. Unknown to him, Bai Suzhen was not human at all but a white snake spirit who had taken human form. Her love was pure, but the discovery of her true nature sparked fear and chaos. Priests and exorcists were called to banish her, believing her to be a witch who used her charms to enchant men and bend them to her will. Despite her powers and the purity of her love, she was hunted down, her story a poignant reminder of the fear that witches, real or imagined, could inspire. In Japan, the image of the witch is both terrifying and tragic, often tied to the ancient beliefs in spirits and demons that populate the islands. The Yamanba, or mountain witch, is a figure that looms large in Japanese folklore. Said to live in the remote, snow-covered mountains, she is a creature of mystery and malevolence. With her wild hair and piercing eyes, she is known to lure travelers into her lair with promises of warmth and food, only to devour them once they are ensnared. She is a symbol of the untamed wilderness, the dangers that lie beyond the safety of the village, and the darkness that dwells within the human heart. Yet, not all witches in Japanese folklore are figures of evil. Some are depicted as wise women, healers, and protectors of the forest. The story of the Kitsune, or fox witch, tells of women who have made pacts with fox spirits, gaining mystical powers and the ability to shapeshift. These witches could be kind or cruel, depending on the fox spirit they were bound to. A tale from Edo period Japan tells of a fox witch who, out of love for a human, used her powers to save his village from a deadly famine, only to vanish into the mist, leaving behind nothing but the memory of her kindness and the eerie silence of the forest. In India, the stories of witches are varied and filled with both fear and respect. The Dayan or witch is often portrayed as a beautiful woman with long, flowing hair and an evil eye. In villages across India, it is believed that the Dayan has the power to cast curses that can bring misfortune, sickness, or death. These witches are said to possess dark magic that allows them to manipulate life and death, to control the forces of nature, and to speak with the spirits of the dead. Some say they can fly through the night on a broomstick, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. One chilling story from the rural heartlands of India tells of a young bride who was accused of being a Dayan. Her mother-in-law claimed she had seen her transform into a cat at night and steal the breath of her children. The village, gripped by fear, turned against her. Despite her pleas of innocence, she was dragged to the village square, where she was beaten and burned. Her cries filled the night, a haunting reminder of how quickly fear can turn to violence. But in other stories, witches are wise women, known as sorceresses, who use their knowledge of herbs and ancient rituals to heal and protect. In the dense forests of Kerala, there are tales of women who could speak to the plants and animals, who knew the secrets of the earth and the stars. These witches were sought after in times of need, their power a source of comfort rather than fear. In one legend, a sorceress named Chandrika used her powers to cure a deadly plague that had swept through her village. She was revered as a savior, her powers seen as a gift rather than a curse. Throughout Asia, the figure of the witch is one of complexity and contradiction. In some stories, she is a villain, a creature of darkness who uses her powers for evil. In others, she is a healer, a protector, a wise woman whose knowledge of the mystical and the magical is unmatched. The cultural significance of witches in Asian folklore is vast, with each story revealing a different aspect of the human experience, a reminder of the thin line between fear and respect, love and hate, life and death. From the snow-covered mountains of Japan to the dense forests of India, the tales of witches are a testament to the enduring power of folklore to capture the imagination and stir the soul. They are stories that speak to the deepest fears and desires of the human heart, stories that remind us of the mysteries that lie just beyond the edge of the known world. And in every whisper of the wind, in every shadow that flickers in the firelight, there is the echo of their power, the reminder that in every culture, in every age, the witch is never far away. Beneath the vast, whispering skies of North America, where the spirits of the earth and the echoes of ancient voices linger, the figure of the witch is entwined with the sacred rhythms of indigenous life. Here, witches and shamans hold a place of profound reverence and deep mystery. In the heart of their traditions, magic and the supernatural are not merely folklore but essential parts of daily existence, shaping the way people understand the world around them. In many Native American tribes, shamans and witches are not seen as mere figures of dark magic but as intermediaries between the human and spirit worlds. They possess a unique power, a connection to forces beyond the ordinary, guiding their people through the unseen realms. These individuals are believed to communicate with spirits, heal the sick, and shape the very fabric of reality with their knowledge and rituals. Among the Lakota Sioux, the witch or Wachapi holds a role of both awe and fear. Their power is deeply connected to the spiritual world, often wielding it to heal or to curse, depending on their intentions and the needs of their community. The Wachapi is seen as a figure who can traverse the boundaries of the physical and spiritual worlds, using their gifts to either protect their people or bring about misfortune. One story from the Sioux tells of a powerful witch who, using her shape-shifting abilities, transformed into a fierce wolf to protect her village from an attacking enemy. Her transformation and bravery became legends, celebrated in songs and stories, yet her ability to shapeshift was also a source of deep fear and respect. In the traditions of the Hopi people, the role of the witch is closely tied to the Kachina spirits, spiritual beings that embody various aspects of nature and human existence. The Hopi believe that witches, or Kachina maidens, possess the ability to call upon these spirits to influence weather patterns, bring rain, or ward off illness. These Kachinas can appear in many forms, from gentle healers to vengeful spirits. One poignant tale tells of a Kachina maiden who, in times of drought, called upon the rain spirits to restore life to the parched earth. Her dance, performed in a sacred ceremony, brought the rain that saved the crops and revitalized the land, cementing her place in Hopi legend as a powerful and benevolent force. In the rich tapestry of Iroquois folklore, witches are often depicted as beings of profound wisdom and formidable power. The sorcerer or wizard of the Iroquois is someone who possesses an intimate knowledge of the natural and supernatural worlds. They are known to perform rituals that can either heal or harm, reflecting the dual nature of their power. One story from the Iroquois tradition speaks of a sorcerer who, in a time of great peril, called upon the spirits of the forest to aid his people. His knowledge of ancient rites and his ability to communicate with the spirits turned the tide of battle, saving his people from disaster. Yet, his power also brought fear, as his ability to wield dark magic was seen as both a blessing and a curse. Among the Navajo, the witch figure is often intertwined with the concept of shapeshifting. The Navajo believe that witches, or skinwalkers, have the ability to transform into animals or even other people, using their powers for both good and ill. These skinwalkers are viewed with a mixture of fear and fascination. One haunting tale from Navajo lore describes a skinwalker who, through malevolent magic, transformed into a coyote to bring sickness and death to a rival clan. The tale serves as a chilling reminder of the skinwalker's dark powers and the ever-present tension between the forces of good and evil in Navajo beliefs. In the traditions of the Inuit, shamans play a central role in communicating with the spirit world. They are believed to have the ability to journey to other realms, seeking guidance and knowledge from spirits to heal the sick and protect their communities. One notable figure in Inuit folklore is the Angakok, a shaman who can enter trance states and travel to the spirit world. The Angakok's journeys are marked by intense spiritual experiences, and their knowledge of the supernatural is sought after for both healing and divination. In one poignant story, an Angakok was said to have cured a deadly illness by summoning the spirits of the Northern Lights, who brought with them a powerful, purifying energy that restored health to the afflicted. Across these diverse cultures, the figure of the witch or shaman is a powerful symbol of the connection between the human and the divine. They are beings of mystery and magic, their lives and legends reflecting the deep reverence for the spiritual world that permeates indigenous traditions. Through shapeshifting, spirit communication, and dark magic, they embody the intricate balance between power and responsibility, fear and respect, seen and unseen. Their stories are not merely tales of magic but profound reflections on the nature of existence and the unseen forces that shape the world. In the shimmering glow of the screen and the crisp pages of modern books, witches have transformed from figures of dark menace to symbols of empowerment and complexity. The witch of today no longer lurks solely in shadows, but dances through the vibrant light of contemporary media, embodying a range of roles from heroic champions to misunderstood outcasts. This shift in portrayal has been nothing short of revolutionary, changing how we perceive these ancient beings. Gone are the days when witches were mere embodiments of evil, wielding their powers to spread chaos and fear. Modern literature and films have reimagined witches as multidimensional characters with their own struggles, strengths, and moral complexities. In the lush, dark forests of fantasy novels, witches are not just villains, but often the misunderstood heroines or tragic figures, struggling against their own curses or seeking redemption. These new depictions allow readers to empathize with witches, seeing them as individuals with profound inner battles and vulnerabilities. In the world of film and television, witches have cast off their traditional roles and stepped into the limelight as powerful, independent characters. Take the iconic character of Hermione Granger from the Harry Potter series. Far from the wicked enchantresses of old tales, Hermione is a symbol of intelligence, bravery, and loyalty. Her magic is a tool for good, her struggles reflect real-life challenges, and her character offers a refreshing departure from the one-dimensional portrayals of witches. Similarly, TV series like Charmed and Sabrina the Teenage Witch have brought witches into everyday settings, portraying them as both extraordinary and relatable. These characters face challenges that go beyond magical conflicts, dealing with issues like friendship, family, and identity. In modern narratives, witches are often depicted as rebels against societal norms or oppressive structures. These stories resonate deeply, reflecting a cultural shift towards valuing personal empowerment and challenging traditional hierarchies. The witch in these tales becomes a symbol of resistance, standing up against injustice and carving out their own path. The show The Witcher, for example, portrays its female magic users as powerful beings who defy the constraints placed upon them by a patriarchal society, using their abilities to assert their independence and influence. Yet, it is not just the power of witches that has been redefined, but also their struggles and vulnerabilities. In novels like The Witch's Daughter and The Once and Future Witches, witches are shown grappling with the burdens of their powers and the prejudice they face. These stories reveal the emotional and psychological toll of living in a world that fears and misunderstands them. Such portrayals invite readers and viewers to reflect on the personal cost of being different and the courage required to remain true to oneself amidst adversity. The evolution of witches in modern media also highlights a broader societal change in how we view power and difference. Witches are no longer just figures of fear, but are also seen as agents of change, embodying qualities that resonate with contemporary audiences. They represent the fight against oppression, the quest for self-discovery, and the power of standing out in a world that often demands conformity. The changing portrayal of witches reflects our growing appreciation for complex characters who challenge the status quo and break free from traditional molds. These modern depictions have not only transformed the image of witches, but have also influenced how society views them. By shifting the narrative from one of fear to one of understanding and empowerment, contemporary media has contributed to a more nuanced and empathetic perception of witchcraft. The witch, once a symbol of dread, has become a powerful figure of resilience and self-assertion, inspiring a new generation to embrace their own inner strength and individuality. Through literature, film, and television, witches now stand as a testament to the enduring power of storytelling. They remind us that magic is not merely about spells and enchantments, but also about the human experience, our desires, our fears, and our aspirations. In these modern tales, the witch is not just a character but a reflection of our own journey towards self-discovery and empowerment. In the heart of a moonlit forest, where shadows dance with ancient magic, witches have emerged as powerful symbols of female empowerment and resistance. What was once a figure of fear and persecution has been transformed into an emblem of strength and defiance. This shift is not just a change in image, but a profound reflection of how feminist movements have reclaimed and redefined the witch. Once, witches were vilified as embodiments of evil. Yet, as the feminist movements gained momentum, these enigmatic figures were resurrected as icons of female power. In the struggle for equality and autonomy, witches became a potent symbol of resistance against patriarchal oppression. Their supposed crimes were not only seen as proof of their rebellious nature, but as a reflection of the fierce challenge they posed to a male-dominated world. The connection between witchcraft and feminism is deeply rooted in the desire for freedom and self-expression. In the face of societal constraints, witches were believed to defy norms and assert their independence. This defiance, once punished with fire and scorn, is now celebrated as an act of bravery and self-determination. The witch, in the feminist context, represents the struggle to reclaim one's power and voice, a symbol of strength in the fight against systemic inequality. Modern witchcraft communities have embraced this legacy, transforming the witch into a beacon of empowerment. These communities, often led by women, focus on the celebration of feminine energy and the assertion of individual rights. They reject the notion that witchcraft is inherently dark or malevolent, instead highlighting its roots in ancient female wisdom and spiritual practices. Through rituals and practices, modern witches connect with their inner strength, celebrating their identities and challenging the societal expectations placed upon them. The resurgence of witchcraft and feminist movements is also about reclaiming history. For centuries, the image of the witch was marred by fear and superstition. By resurrecting the witch as a symbol of female empowerment, modern feminists reclaim the narrative and challenge the stereotypes that have long been used to oppress women. This reclamation is not just about honoring the past, but about forging a new identity, one that acknowledges the strength and resilience of women throughout history. Witches in contemporary feminist discourse are often seen as guardians of ancient knowledge and practices that celebrate femininity and nature. They are portrayed as powerful figures who wield magic not to harm but to heal and empower. The rituals and ceremonies of modern witchcraft are deeply rooted in traditions that honor the cycles of nature, the power of intuition, and the strength of community. This connection to the natural world and to ancient wisdom becomes a source of empowerment and a way to resist the constraints of a rapidly changing world. In reclaiming the witch's identity, modern feminist movements highlight how this figure can represent much more than the sum of old fears and prejudices. The witch becomes a symbol of resilience against adversity, a figure who defies the conventional and asserts her place in the world on her own terms. This new portrayal allows women to connect with a history of strength and wisdom, finding inspiration in the witch's courage and defiance. Through the lens of feminism, witchcraft is not just a set of practices, but a powerful statement of identity and resistance. It reflects the broader struggle for gender equality and the desire for a world where women can express themselves freely and assert their power without fear of persecution. The witch, once a symbol of what was feared, has become a potent reminder of what can be achieved when one dares to defy the status quo and claim their place in the world. In every ritual, every spell, and every whispered incantation, modern witchcraft communities are weaving a tapestry of empowerment and resistance. They transform the witch from a figure of dark mystery into a beacon of light and strength, embodying the ongoing struggle for equality and self-expression. The witch's journey from fear to empowerment is a testament to the enduring power of reclaiming one's narrative and asserting one's identity in the face of adversity. In the dark, flickering light of a solitary candle, the air hums with the eerie whispers of ancient magic. The shadows twist and writhe, as if eager to reveal the secrets hidden in the ancient tomes. Here, in this dimly lit space, the connection between witchcraft and the occult comes alive, weaving a tapestry of mystery and fear. Witchcraft and the occult have long been entwined, their paths crossing in the pursuit of forbidden knowledge and hidden power. The occult, an umbrella of mystical and esoteric traditions, often overlaps with witchcraft, especially in the realm of dark magic practices. These practices, steeped in mystery and enigma, include necromancy, divination, and summoning, each carrying its own shadowy allure. Necromancy, the dark art of communicating with the dead, has always held a chilling fascination. Imagine a figure cloaked in shadows, standing over an ancient grave, calling forth the spirits from the other side. This practice, with its eerie rituals and whispered incantations, was once believed to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. The necromancer, shrouded in both fear and awe, sought to harness the power of the departed, often at great personal risk. In history, figures like John Dee, the famous English scholar and advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, dabbled in necromancy, seeking wisdom from the beyond, driven by a quest for knowledge and power that blurred the lines between the mortal and the spectral. Divination, another pillar of occult practices, involves seeking knowledge of the future or hidden truths through mystical means. The ancient art of reading omens, interpreting signs, and casting lots has fascinated humanity for centuries. Picture a lone witch gazing into a crystal ball, her eyes reflecting the shifting shadows of fate. Divination, with its promise of revealing the unseen, has often been a source of both hope and dread. In ancient Rome, augurs would interpret the will of the gods through the flight patterns of birds, their insights guiding decisions of great importance. The allure of peering into the unknown has made divination a powerful tool for those seeking to control their destiny or understand the deeper truths of existence. Summoning, the act of calling forth supernatural entities, is perhaps the most dramatic of dark magic practices. Envision a solitary figure, surrounded by a circle of protective symbols, chanting ancient words to call forth a spirit or demon. The stakes are high, and the risks are enormous, as the summoner seeks to bend these entities to their will. Historical figures such as Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa, a 16th-century scholar and occultist, were known for their attempts to summon spirits and harness their power. Agrippa's writings, filled with complex rituals and enigmatic symbols, reflect a deep-seated desire to control and manipulate forces beyond human understanding. Throughout history, these dark magic practices have been both feared and revered. They represent a yearning to explore the boundaries of human knowledge and power, to uncover the hidden layers of existence. Yet, they also embody the dangers of tampering with forces that lie beyond our control. The figures who practiced these arts often faced tremendous risks, from social ostracism to actual physical harm, driven by their quest for forbidden knowledge and the allure of dark power. The occult's dark allure has left an indelible mark on history, shaping our understanding of magic and witchcraft. It has fascinated and terrified, inspired and repelled. From necromancers seeking to commune with the dead, to diviners peering into the mists of the future, to summoners reaching into the abyss for power, these practices reflect a profound and unsettling quest for control over the unknown. In the shadows of history, the connection between witchcraft and the occult reveals a complex and haunting tapestry of human desire and fear. These practices, once cloaked in secrecy and suspicion, continue to captivate the imagination, serving as a reminder of the delicate balance between knowledge and power and the eternal allure of the unknown. In the dim, flickering light of a candlelit room, a sense of magic and mystery fills the air. Shadows dance across the walls, and a soft whisper of incantations lingers as if echoing from another time. In this enigmatic setting, the role of familiars and magical tools in witchcraft emerges, each element imbued with its own unique power and symbolism. Familiars, the animal companions of witches, have always been a source of intrigue and awe. Imagine a sleek black cat, its eyes gleaming with an otherworldly knowledge, sitting quietly beside a witch as she performs her rituals. Familiars were believed to be more than just pets. They were thought to be spiritual guides, sent by supernatural forces to assist in magical practices. The bond between a witch and her familiar was deeply personal and mystical. These creatures, from cats to owls to toads, were believed to possess magical qualities that enhanced the witch's power. The familiar was not merely an animal but a trusted confidant, a bridge to the unseen world. The loyalty and companionship of these animals provided witches with comfort and guidance, their presence a constant reminder of the mysteries that lay beyond the ordinary. Magical tools, each with its own distinct role, were vital in witchcraft. Picture a wand, delicately carved and adorned with intricate symbols, held firmly in the witch's hand as she channels her energy. Wands were used to direct magical forces, a conduit between the witch and the spiritual realms. Each flick and movement was a deliberate act of intention, a dance of power that shaped the unseen forces at play. The wand's elegance and craftsmanship were not just for show, they represented the witch's connection to the arcane. The cauldron, another essential tool, simmered with the promise of transformation. Imagine the cauldron bubbling with mysterious ingredients, casting its smoky veil over the room. It was here that potions and brews were created, each concoction a carefully measured blend of herbs and magical elements. The cauldron symbolized the womb of the earth, a place where raw ingredients were transformed into powerful elixirs and spells. It was a sacred space where magic was brewed and mysteries were uncovered. Grimoires, the ancient books of spells and magical knowledge, held a special place in witchcraft. These tomes, filled with handwritten spells, rituals, and symbols, were a witch's most treasured possession. Picture the pages of a grimoire, worn and yellowed with age, its secrets waiting to be uncovered. Grimoires were not just books, they were repositories of wisdom, a record of the witch's craft passed down through generations. Each spell written on those pages carried the weight of tradition and the potential to alter reality. The symbolic significance of these magical tools went hand in hand with their practical uses. A wand's power lay not just in its ability to direct energy, but in the intention and focus it represented. The cauldron was a symbol of transformation and creation, turning the mundane into the magical. The grimoire was a sacred text, a guide to understanding and harnessing the forces of the universe. In the world of witchcraft, familiars and magical tools were more than mere objects, they were vessels of power and connection. They bridged the gap between the physical and the mystical, each element contributing to the rich tapestry of witchcraft. The trust placed in a familiar, the careful use of a wand, the careful brewing in a cauldron, and the reverence for a grimoire, all these aspects reflected a deep and enduring relationship with the unknown. As the candlelight flickers and shadows stretched across the walls, the presence of familiars and magical tools continues to inspire a sense of wonder and awe. Each element, imbued with its own magic, serves as a reminder of the timeless connection between the seen and the unseen, the known and the unknown. In the heart of ancient forests, under the moon's pale gaze, witches harnessed the primal forces of the elements. Each element, earth, air, fire, and water, holds a unique, potent magic that connects witches to the very fabric of the world. Feel the earth beneath your feet, a grounding presence that whispers of ancient secrets. Witches have long revered the earth as a source of life and power. Picture a witch, her hands caressing the soil, invoking its energy to heal or protect. Earth magic is about drawing strength from the ground, whether it's through rituals of planting and harvesting or spells for stability and growth. Imagine the ritual of burying a charm in the earth to ensure prosperity, each grain of soil infused with intention and ancient wisdom. The earth, in its stillness, holds the power to manifest dreams and protect the home. Now, envision the breath of air, a force that swirls around, invisible yet ever-present. Air, with its whispers and gusts, is a conduit for communication and change. A witch standing on a hill, arms outstretched, summons the wind to carry her wishes or to cleanse a space. Elemental magic involving air can include spells for clarity of thought, swift action, or even the dispersion of negativity. Imagine a ritual where a feather is used to direct a spell's energy, the air itself bending to the witch's will. Air's ephemeral nature symbolizes freedom and movement, embodying the power to shift circumstances and thoughts. Fire crackles with an intense, consuming energy that can both create and destroy. Picture a witch dancing around a blazing fire, her face illuminated by its fierce glow, as she channels its heat into powerful spells. Fire magic is often used for transformation and empowerment. Rituals may involve burning herbs or candles, each flame representing a wish or a release. Feel the heat of the fire as it burns away the old to make way for the new. Fire's raw energy can be harnessed to ignite passion, courage, or even to bring about dramatic changes. Its flames symbolize both destruction and rebirth, a powerful force that can cleanse and renew. Water flows gently, a soothing presence that carries the weight of emotions and intuition. Imagine a witch standing by a moonlit lake, her reflection shimmering on the surface, as she performs a ritual with water to bring about healing or divination. Water magic involves using this element for emotional healing, purification, and the nurturing of life. Spells might involve the use of sacred springs, rainwater, or even the simple act of scrying in a bowl of water. Water's fluidity represents the ability to adapt and flow with life's changes, offering a means to cleanse and refresh both the body and spirit. The interplay of these elements, earth, air, fire, and water, forms the foundation of elemental magic in witchcraft. Each element is not just a force, but a partner in the witch's practice, providing unique energies and capabilities. Witches often create sacred spaces where these elements can be honored through specific rituals. A circle might be cast with representations of all four elements, creating a balanced and harmonious environment for magic to unfold. Consider the ritual of the elemental pentacle, where each corner of the sacred space is dedicated to one of the four elements. A candle represents fire, a bowl of water symbolizes the element of water, a small stone or bowl of earth stands for earth, and a feather or incense represents air. Each element is invoked, its power honored, and its energy integrated into the spell or ritual. Legends and folklore are rich with stories of witches who wielded elemental magic. Ancient texts recount tales of witches controlling the weather, summoning storms, or using fire to vanquish foes. These stories are not just myth, but a testament to the deep connection witches have with the elements, revealing a profound respect and understanding of nature's forces. In these ancient practices, the elements are more than mere components, they are living forces, each with its own spirit and power. Witches' ability to harness and balance these elements reflects a deep, enduring relationship with the world's natural rhythms. The magic of earth, air, fire, and water is a reminder of the elemental forces that shape our lives and the universe, and of the profound connection between the witch and the natural world. In the shadows of ancient forests and forgotten corners of the mind, the shadow witch lurks, a symbol of darkness and chaos that stirs primal fears and hidden truths. This figure, draped in mystery and fear, embodies the dark side of witchcraft, where the forces of chaos and the unknown reign supreme. The shadow witch represents more than just malevolence, she is a profound reflection of the fears and mysteries that lie within us all. She is not merely an antagonist, but a powerful symbol of the chaos that threatens the order of life. Her presence evokes the deep, unsettling feeling of confronting the unknown, the part of ourselves we try to hide or deny. Among the archetypes associated with the shadow witch are the crone, the dark mother, and the seductress. Each of these figures holds a mirror to our collective anxieties and hidden aspects of the psyche. The crone, ancient and wise, stands as a guardian of deep knowledge and the mysteries of death and transformation. She is often depicted as a wizened old woman with a knowing gaze, representing the end of cycles and the hidden wisdom that comes with age. The crone's power lies in her ability to confront the inevitable end and the dark passages of life. Her presence can be chilling, as she embodies the inescapable truths about mortality and the unknown realms beyond life. In her shadow, one feels the cold touch of time and the stark reality of human frailty. The Dark Mother, another archetype, is both nurturing and terrifying. She symbolizes the fertile darkness from which all life emerges and eventually returns. Her dual nature, nurturing yet consuming, reflects the complexity of life cycles. The Dark Mother can be seen in myths where she is both a giver of life and a force of destruction. Her embrace can be both protective and suffocating, embodying the profound fear of being overwhelmed by forces larger than ourselves. She represents the primal, chaotic energies that underlie creation and destruction, a reminder of the delicate balance between growth and decay. Then there is the seductress, a figure who lures with promise and allure but often leads to peril. This archetype embodies the danger of unchecked desire and the power of allure that can lead one astray. The seductress is a master of manipulation and charm, using her beauty and wit to ensnare those who fall under her spell. Her presence invokes the fear of losing control and the allure of the forbidden. In her dark magic, one feels the tension between attraction and danger, the thrill of the unknown balanced on the edge of treachery. These archetypes are not just figures in stories, but reflect deeper psychological truths and societal fears. The crone, the Dark Mother, and the seductress each embody aspects of the human experience that challenge our understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. They represent the parts of ourselves that we often try to avoid, the inevitable end, the primal forces of life and death, and the seductive dangers that lure us from our path. The fear of the shadow witch and her archetypal companions is rooted in our collective anxieties about the unknown, the uncontrollable, and the deeply personal aspects of our own nature. Confronting these figures forces us to face our darkest fears and the chaos that exists just beneath the surface of everyday life. As stories of these dark archetypes spread through culture, they serve as a warning and a reflection of the hidden corners of our psyche. They remind us that within each of us lies a potential for darkness and chaos, a reminder of the fragile line between order and disorder. The Shadow Witch and the archetypes she embodies are not merely characters to be feared, but aspects of ourselves to be understood and integrated. They reflect the complexity of the human soul and the eternal dance between light and shadow. A chilling shiver crawls down the spine at the mention of curses and hexes. From ancient times to modern folklore, these dark spells have haunted human imagination, weaving tales of dread and supernatural retribution. The mere thought of a curse evokes a primal fear, tapping into the deepest anxieties about fate and the unknown. Curses and hexes have been a part of human belief systems for centuries, often linked with dire consequences and malevolent forces. They are not just superstitions, but powerful symbols of fear, suggesting that the wrong word or gesture could summon a fate far worse than death. These dark spells were once thought to be capable of controlling destinies, causing misfortune, illness, or even death to those who angered or wronged others. One of the most infamous examples of curses is the tale of the Hope Diamond, a gemstone said to be cursed with the power to bring ruin to its owners. The diamond, once owned by French royalty and later by American socialite Evelyn Walsh McLean, is believed to have brought misfortune, death, and scandal to those who possessed it. The story of the Hope Diamond is a gripping reminder of how curses can be tied to objects, each incident adding to its dark legend. The ancient city of Pompeii also bears the mark of curses. Inscriptions found on walls, warning of curses upon thieves and vandals, reveal how seriously people took these supernatural threats. Such curses were meant to protect property and ensure justice, but they also reflect the fear and desperation of a society trying to control the uncontrollable. Then there are the tales of personal curses, such as the notorious case of the Roman Emperor Caligula. His reign was marred by cruelty and paranoia, and some historians suggest that his downfall was attributed to the curse placed upon him by a disgruntled senator. The belief that Caligula's brutal actions could lead to divine retribution speaks volumes about how curses were intertwined with political and personal vendettas. The psychological impact of curses and hexes extends far beyond the supernatural. They tap into fundamental fears about powerlessness and the unknown, making people believe that their fate is sealed by forces beyond their control. The thought that a curse could dictate one's destiny creates a sense of vulnerability and helplessness, feeding into the fear of an unpredictable and often cruel universe. In many cultures, curses are deeply embedded in social and spiritual practices. In some African traditions, curses are believed to bring about not only misfortune but also spiritual punishment. In these societies, the power of curses is respected and feared, reinforcing social norms and boundaries through the threat of divine retribution. Similarly, in European folklore, the image of the witch casting a curse was used to explain and control the chaos of life. The fear of being cursed by someone with malevolent intent often led to scapegoating and witch hunts, as communities sought to remove perceived sources of danger and misfortune. The legacy of these fears still lingers, echoing through stories and legends that persist in modern culture. The psychological effects of curses and hexes can be profound. They exploit deep-seated fears and anxieties, creating a sense of impending doom that can be more terrifying than any tangible threat. The belief in a curse can lead individuals to interpret ordinary misfortunes as evidence of supernatural punishment, reinforcing the power of the curse and deepening the sense of helplessness. The impact of curses and dark spells is not confined to ancient times or distant places. Their influence stretches into the present, where they continue to fascinate and terrify. From popular culture to personal beliefs, the concept of curses taps into a universal fear of the unknown and the uncontrollable, making it a powerful and enduring element of human storytelling and psychological experience. Each story of a curse or hex, whether it involves a mysterious object, a historical figure, or a personal vendetta, serves as a haunting reminder of the power of belief and the depth of human fear. They reveal the dark side of our imagination, where the boundaries between reality and the supernatural blur, and the consequences of crossing these boundaries become chillingly real. The night is thick with tension as shadows stretch long across the walls. A flicker of candlelight reveals an ancient tome, its pages whispering secrets of a world beyond our own. This is the world where witches and the supernatural realm converge, a place where ghosts, demons, and spirits intertwine with the mortal coil. In the dim light of a witch's chamber, the veil between worlds grows thin, and the eerie whispers of the unknown become palpable. Witches have long been associated with the supernatural, their practices threading through the shadows of the otherworld. In many traditions, they are believed to possess the ability to communicate with spirits, summon ghosts, and even converse with demons. The very essence of their craft involves stepping beyond the boundaries of the living, reaching into a realm that is both feared and revered. One of the most haunting aspects of witchcraft is its connection to the dead. Throughout history, witches have been seen as mediators between the living and the departed. In ancient rituals, they would invoke spirits, using intricate incantations and symbols to reach beyond the grave. These practices were not merely about speaking with the deceased, but about seeking their guidance, unraveling hidden truths, or exacting revenge on those who wronged the living. In the folklore of various cultures, tales of witches summoning spirits or confronting demons are chilling. Take, for example, the legend of the witch in medieval Europe who, under the cover of night, would summon restless spirits to uncover secrets or foretell the future. These seances were shrouded in mystery, with the air thick with the scent of incense and the sound of ancient chants. The fear of invoking a spirit that could not be controlled was ever present, adding to the palpable sense of dread. Similarly, the practice of necromancy, or communicating with the dead, has roots in many traditions. In ancient Greece, necromancers would use rituals to summon the souls of the deceased, seeking their wisdom or advice. These practices were fraught with danger, as the boundaries between life and death were believed to be dangerously fragile. The mere act of attempting to cross that boundary was seen as both a bold and perilous endeavor. The shadowy figures of demons and dark spirits also play a significant role in the lore of witchcraft. In many stories, witches are depicted as having the power to summon and control these malevolent entities. The fear of demons is rooted in the belief that they are agents of chaos, capable of wreaking havoc on the physical and spiritual world. Witches, in their quest for power or knowledge, might engage in dangerous rituals to summon these beings, risking their souls in the process. In the folklore of various cultures, the practices associated with demons and dark spirits often involve elaborate ceremonies and protective measures. In some traditions, witches would create intricate protective circles and use charms to ward off these entities, while in others, the ritual itself was a desperate attempt to harness or appease the dark forces. The practice of witchcraft as a means of interacting with the supernatural is both alluring and terrifying. The idea that one can reach beyond the veil of death and confront the spirits of the past is a powerful one. It speaks to a fundamental human desire to understand and control the unknown, to pierce through the shadows and find meaning in the darkness. Yet, this power comes with a heavy price. The stories of witches who have become ensnared by the spirits they sought to control are filled with tragedy. The same rituals that were intended to reveal hidden truths or provide protection could also lead to one's undoing. The very act of reaching into the supernatural realm can pull a person into its depths, where the boundaries of reality and fantasy blur. The legends and practices involving the supernatural realm serve as haunting reminders of the thin line that separates the living from the dead. They evoke a sense of wonder and fear, capturing the imagination with tales of otherworldly encounters and forbidden knowledge. For those who practice witchcraft, the connection to the supernatural is a powerful, if dangerous, aspect of their craft, one that reveals both the allure and the peril of peering into the shadows that lie beyond our world. The moon hangs low, casting an ethereal glow over a small gathering in the forest. Around a circle of flickering candles, modern witches come together, their hands raised in silent reverence. The old songs, once sung in ancient times, mix with the hum of New Age chants. Here, in the heart of the woods, the echoes of a forgotten past blend seamlessly with the rhythm of the present. Witchcraft, often feared and misunderstood, has transformed and endured through the ages. In today's world, it is a vibrant tapestry woven from ancient threads and modern beliefs. The witchcraft of yesteryear, once shrouded in darkness and suspicion, now flourishes in a contemporary landscape where the old and new coexist in harmony. In the bustling cities and quiet suburbs alike, communities devoted to witchcraft have emerged. These groups, often united by a shared belief in the spiritual and mystical, practice a blend of traditional rituals and modern spirituality. Their ceremonies, while rooted in ancient practices, are infused with contemporary values and ideas. The rituals may involve ancient chants and symbols, but they are also adapted to address modern concerns, seeking balance in a chaotic world, personal empowerment, and a deeper connection with nature. One of the most striking aspects of contemporary witchcraft is its integration with New Age spirituality. Modern witches often embrace a fusion of old traditions and contemporary beliefs, creating a unique spiritual path. Crystals and tarot cards, once the tools of esoteric practices, are now commonplace in the hands of those who seek to explore their inner selves and connect with the universe. These practices are no longer confined to hidden corners but are openly discussed and celebrated in mainstream society. The resurgence of witchcraft has brought with it a reimagining of ancient symbols and rituals. The old witch's broomstick is now a symbol of personal transformation, and the cauldron, once a tool for dark potions, is a vessel for spiritual growth and self-discovery. The ancient wheel of the year, with its festivals and sabbats, is celebrated with new vigor, reflecting a deepened understanding of the cycles of nature and human life. The legacy of witchcraft in modern times is also marked by a remarkable inclusivity and diversity. Unlike the rigid structures of past traditions, contemporary witchcraft embraces a broad spectrum of beliefs and practices. This inclusiveness allows individuals from all walks of life to find their place within the community, creating a rich tapestry of voices and experiences. It's a celebration of individuality and shared spirituality, where ancient traditions are honored but also expanded upon with modern insights. Stories of personal empowerment and healing are at the heart of today's witchcraft. Modern witches often speak of finding solace and strength through their practices, using rituals and spells not for harm but for personal growth and protection. They reclaim and redefine what it means to be a witch, transforming old fears and prejudices into a source of empowerment and connection. In doing so, they honor the legacy of those who came before while forging a new path for the future. The enduring appeal of witchcraft lies in its ability to adapt and resonate with each generation. It speaks to a timeless human desire to connect with the mysteries of the universe, to find meaning and purpose beyond the ordinary. As society evolves, so too does the practice of witchcraft, merging ancient wisdom with contemporary understanding in a dance that bridges the past and the present. In the quiet moments of reflection, as the candles flicker and the chants rise, the essence of witchcraft remains as vibrant and alive as ever. It is a living tradition, one that has weathered the storms of history and emerged with a renewed spirit. The witchcraft of today, with its blend of ancient rites and modern spirituality, is a testament to the enduring power of belief and the ever-present quest for connection and understanding. In the quiet of a moonlit night, screens glow softly in darkened rooms, illuminating faces as they gather in virtual circles. On the other side of the world, people connect through shared interests, whispering ancient spells and sharing rituals with a digital breath. This is the modern revival of witchcraft, an age-old tradition reborn in the digital age, alive and thriving in the 21st century. The resurgence of witchcraft and pagan traditions today is not just a fleeting trend, it is a profound return to ancient practices, invigorated by contemporary energy. Across the globe, people are rediscovering the magic and wisdom of old beliefs, weaving them into their modern lives with a renewed sense of purpose and excitement. Social media platforms and online communities have become the new covens, where witches from every corner of the world gather to share their experiences and knowledge. What was once whispered in secret circles is now broadcast to the world, allowing for a global exchange of ideas and traditions. Instagram feeds sparkle with images of crystal grids, spell jars, and mystical rituals. YouTube channels offer step-by-step guides to ancient practices, bringing the esoteric into the everyday. The digital realm, once just a tool for communication, has become a powerful space for spiritual exploration and community building. This revival is not just about ancient rites being performed in modern ways, it's also about redefining what it means to be a witch today. The witch of the 21st century is no longer confined to the shadows of fear and misunderstanding. Instead, she stands as a symbol of empowerment and self-expression. The modern witchcraft community is a mosaic of diverse voices, each contributing their unique experiences and perspectives. In this melting pot of ideas, witchcraft has become a celebration of individuality, where personal empowerment and spiritual growth are at the forefront. People from all walks of life are drawn to witchcraft not just for its ancient rituals, but for what it represents, a reclaiming of personal power and a search for deeper meaning. In a world where many feel disconnected from traditional institutions and practices, witchcraft offers an alternative path, one that values personal connection and self-discovery. Modern witches are crafting their own paths, blending old traditions with new insights to create practices that resonate with their own lives. The digital age has also brought a new level of visibility to witchcraft, helping to dispel myths and misunderstandings. With the rise of online communities, there is greater access to information, fostering an environment of learning and growth. This visibility has also sparked curiosity and acceptance, allowing people to explore witchcraft without the stigma and fear that once surrounded it. As the digital world continues to expand, it brings with it an ever-growing audience eager to explore and participate in the magic of witchcraft. Social media has also become a space for modern witches to share their successes and challenges, to offer support and encouragement. The stories of personal transformation and empowerment that emerge from these communities are a testament to the profound impact of witchcraft on contemporary lives. Whether through a heartfelt post about overcoming obstacles or a shared spell that brought about positive change, these digital interactions forge connections and foster a sense of solidarity. In this new era, witchcraft is no longer seen as an obscure or dangerous practice, but as a vibrant and evolving tradition. The witch is not just a figure of the past, but a symbol of resilience and renewal, embodying the spirit of transformation that is so needed in today's world. The blend of ancient wisdom and modern sensibility offers a powerful tool for those seeking to reconnect with themselves and the world around them. As the moonlight dances on the screens of the modern world, casting shadows that blend with the ancient, the craft of witchcraft is reborn. The age-old traditions are illuminated with fresh perspectives, and the witch, once hidden in the dark, now stands proudly in the light of the digital age.